The following podcast was produced in-house for KQEK.com. Welcome to another edition of KQEK.com Digital, and I'm Mark R. Hassan with this week's podcast centered around Dario Argento's Suspiria and a few other things. When Synapse will release their standard edition Blu-ray of Suspiria, expect a detailed review at KQEK.com. But for now, I'll keep things brief, focusing on the importance of the film's restoration after decades of neglect. I say neglect because the saddest moment, perhaps the nadir of the film's treatment, was a screening of an archival print of Franklin Schaffner's excellent Planet of the Apes film at the Toronto Jewish Film Festival a few years ago. As the projector was switched into gear, the first feet of Leader popped on the screen, and instead of seeing Black Leader, the movie was preceded with a few seconds from Suspiria's main titles. I mean, taking bits of an old Suspiria print with optical sound intact and hacking it into another film as Leader is pretty ignominious. A rare 35mm print screening of Suspiria several years ago hosted by Guillermo del Toro featured a watchable print, but it was in mono, and all the juicy bits had been literally hacked out with a splicer, leaving very little gore. It also didn't help that no one seemed to be able to get the film right on home video. Never mind the VHS releases. Image's widescreen laserdisc featured a great Prologic sound mix, but nothing discrete, and Anchor Bay's remixed 5.1 DVD had pretty tepid audio. The whole point of Suspiria was to transcend convention and assault audiences with sound, Goblin's music, rich colors, and montages of prolonged, stylishly rendered torment in 2.35:1 scope, with a reported multi-track mix no one could find. The European Blu-ray featured horrific hot video levels and had bloggers thinking cinematographer Luciano Tovoli had lost his mind in the transfer's supervision. But it was a bungled transfer which Tovoli did not approve. When the film was trumpeted as restored at a 2007 Cannes screening, news of a remake broke. But efforts to remake Suspiria were probably key to the original film being held back from any proper distribution, let alone proper home video releases. That's why it came as a shock and relief when Synapse announced they'd acquired the rights to mount their own 4K restoration for both home video and theatrical exhibition. And as time passed on, a handful of stills revealed the wait was going to be worth it, as vivid colors were being meticulously restored for a definitive transfer and archiving that would ensure no more substandard, insulting editions would be in circulation. After Synapse's 4 years of restoration work, the slow release strategy of Argento's 1977 masterpiece in 4K would eventually make its way to Canada, and with Goblin's Maurizio Guarini living just outside of Toronto, the perfect night was plotted by the Royal Cinema at the Ladies of Burlesque series, coordinating a screening on October 18th with the film bookended by a burlesque performance of the main theme and a Q&A with Goblin, moderated by Rue Morgue's Aaron Von Lupton. The film's complete sellout, which should have been expected really, mandated 2 repeat screenings on Friday, October the 20th and Saturday, October the 21st. But Goblin's appearance was a special one-time event, in part because the veteran Italian prog-rock and soundtrack maestros had to prepare for a new concert at the Opera House on October 25th. The band had previously played the venue back in 2013, and my take on the concert, plus the singles LP that was released in tandem, is archived at KQEK.com. A few quick things before we dissolve to an edited version of the Goblin Q&A from Suspiria's 4K Toronto premiere. Guarini acted as translator for the 4 other band members, and I've edited the content slightly to reflect his English replies. But where comments are exclusively in Italian and audible, I've left them intact as a bonus to listeners who understand Italian, and because it's just a beautiful language. Also, Ladies of Burlesque programmer Alicia Fletcher mentions Guarini will return for a solo performance of his score for the iconic 1911 silent Dante's Inferno, which had its premiere April 9th at the U of T's Ennis Town Hall. The turnout for that screening was in fact quite solid. The hall was perhaps 2/3 full, and I had the pleasure of interviewing Guarini after the screening to discuss his involvement, scoring, and performing the music live. You can find the links to our conversation also at KQEK.com. Now lastly, a short plug. Saturday, October 21st is Video Store Day, and to salute the day in which video store sales and rental stores celebrate the culture of physical media, I'm making my experimental documentary BSV 1172, Your Friendly Neighborhood Video Store, available for free streaming via Vimeo and YouTube for about a week. Filmed at Toronto's Bay Street Video over several months, BSV was shot almost entirely using 1980s tube cameras and features images bounced between tape and digital media and an aggressive sound mix. The movie had its world premiere at the 2016 San Diego Underground Film Festival and its Canadian premiere at Toronto's iMyth Film Festival. And it'll be available in late January 2018 in a special edition with assorted short featurettes on the rare analog gear used to create the unusual visuals. Once again, links to the short are in the related editor's blog for this podcast at KQEK.com and my filmmaking site, bigheadamusements.com, which features stills of the numerous cameras used in the production and visual effects. And now, here's the edited version of the intro and post-screening Q&A with Suspiria's Goblin, conducted at Toronto's Royal Cinema.
I'm the curator of Ladies of Burlesque. I'm going to keep my words on Suspiria super short because you're all already convinced. Normally I show a rather obscure film and have to convince people why they shouldn't be angry for paying $12. I don't have to do this time. Are you all aware that Goblin's going to be here? Good. Goblin will be here. They're going to come for a Q&A at the end of the film, so please stick around. That Q&A is graciously hosted by Aaron Lupton of Rue Morgue. He is their music editor, so we're very, very excited. And maybe you've heard that Goblin is here in Toronto playing at the Opera House, October 26th. Tickets are being sold here. You can save the service fees after the show. Just find the table, $30 cash. Get those Opera House tickets. That's going to be an amazing Halloween event. This will not be the only time in October that we have a Goblin-related event. So I'm very pleased to announce that on December 6th, Maurizio Guarini will be back playing his score for the 1913 version of Dante's Inferno. It is insane. I've seen him do this. This is a crazy event that the medieval department at U of T put on. So we're going to bring him here to reenact that for you. So please grab your tickets to that because we expect that to sell out very, very quickly. Huge thanks to Rue Morgue for helping promote this event. I also want to thank Andrew Barr, who designed that insane poster. When he sent me that poster, I was just like, oh, okay, this is real. He is selling it after the screening for $10. See him at his table. We also have Bay Street Video here, who are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful purveyors of everything film related. They are your one-stop shop for anything. Please check them out. They have a table after the show selling Giallo-inspired and related paraphernalia. And then, as I said, we have tickets to Goblin's show at the Opera House. So please check that out. A huge, huge thank you to the Italian Institute for Culture. They emailed us and said, would you like Goblin to come to your event? Which is a subject line that I will always remember. They're fantastic. Thank you so much to them for making this happen. We have tried to program Suspiria for well over a year. As you might be aware, there's a remake coming out. And what that means is studios most often say, fuck you, you're not allowed to show the older film because that cuts into our audience for the newer film. So there's a blackout on it. And literally, the day we sent in our request to do the screening, they gave us a hard no, and then the next morning released the opportunity to program it. So we're very, very thankful to Fox for providing us with this film, and to the Italian Institute for Culture for giving us Goblin. They're all here, all four of them. I was hoping for 2, maybe 3. I just found out all 4 are here. Maurizio, of course, lives in Toronto. The other 3 have just flown in from Italy. So excited. I'm going to get off the stage. Suspiria, great film. Obviously, has a great burlesque angle. I don't need to stand up here and tell you that it's freaking amazing. What I love about it is that women are not just victims, they're also the perpetrators. And I also, which in the 70s meant agency. And I love witches. So, have a great screening. Thank you so much for coming.
Roses are red, violets are blue, but the iris is the flower that will mean the end of it.
You can run from Suspiria. 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 But you cannot escape Suspiria. The only thing more terrifying than the last 12 minutes of Suspiria are the first 92.
Please welcome to the stage, Goblin. And our moderator, Aaron Lipton.
So, how awesome was that? Hey, let me ask you a question. How many of the many of people out there tonight, was this the first time you've seen Suspiria? Come on, you can raise your hand. You're not going to impress your girlfriend because you're saying that you've seen it before when you haven't. No. You know what? I was sitting there actually, I was trying to think to myself, when was the last time I saw, when was the first time that I saw Suspiria? And I can't actually remember when the first time I saw it was. But the weird thing about it is that I remember the first time I heard the music, the soundtrack. I was in high school. You know, Suspiria was one of those movies because, you know, I turned 40 this year, so I'm old and sentimental about everything. And when I was growing up, Suspiria was one of those movies you didn't see, you wanted to see it. You know, I grew up in a small town. There was no cool video stores. There was no internet where you could watch everything that you wanted to watch. You could see it through tape trading, but the weird thing is my brother in high school, his girlfriend had it on a dubbed cassette, the soundtrack, and I can't think of any other film where I got into the soundtrack years before I got into the movie. And not only that, but the fact that people were actually tape trading the soundtrack makes it kind of cool. So I just really want to highlight the fact that here in Toronto, we're kind of spoiled with all of the different horror movie screenings that we get to see, but only you have seen Suspiria on the big screen with basically the entire band that did the score live and in attendance. So let's not diminish what we're all witnessing here tonight. So one of the interesting things about soundtrack music, and one of the things that, you know, I always like to discuss, because a lot of people, including myself, we're never really quite sure, how does a score get made? Does the artist sit down and watch the movie and write the music while they're watching it? Or do they come up with the music before? Do they come up with it afterwards? So if I could just ask you guys, what was the sort of process for writing the soundtrack? Because I understand that Dario Argento himself played a role in coming up with it.
Okay, I'm going to translate
Maurizio
them because I'm Maurizio. Let me introduce Agostino Marangolo, Aidan Zamit, that is helping us, Massimo Morante, Fabio Pignatelli, and Maurizio Guarini. Just a small introduction. I live here since 1999, so I happen to learn English a little bit. The other guys are living in Italy, so maybe I should be a little bit translating on the answer and the question. And so I'm going to translate the question from Aaron.
Go ahead, Maurizio.
Okay, normally on soundtracks we use the movie first, with maybe a temporary cut. You decide the music with the director. In that case, it was the same, but we started writing the first theme just seeing the script. So when the movie has started being filmed, we already had a theme, actually the main theme. In that particular case, it worked a little bit different. Yeah, when they were shooting the movie, there was our music already in the background, so that they were inspired even while shooting the movie.
And sorry, Maurizio, when you say that the music was playing in the background, you're talking about the music that you wrote, or was it a temp track, or what was the music?
Yeah, it was the main theme of Suspiria. Blah, 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 blah. It was going under the scene, and I know, sometimes you may inspire, right? Actors and everything, everybody is working on something, they listen to something. Oh yeah, of course, even the rhythm of the scenes was influenced by the rhythm of the music for some certain scenes, of course. In that case, it might help shooting the movie in a different way if you have some theme before, in advance.
And so what was their reaction like on set when the actors were filming with the music? What was their reaction to the music? Because it's so otherworldly, it's so dissonant.
I don't know. We went to see the shooting of the movie a couple of times. I don't really know the reaction of the actor. I don't think we can answer on that. Yeah, it's not that important. Massimo was saying that we used particular musical instruments for this particular movie, like the Greek bouzouki and other acoustic instruments.
So Maurizio, you had mentioned the bouzouki was one of the instruments that was used, right? Which is like a Greek, it's a Greek string instrument, like it's almost like a neck guitar sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
There was the tabla, which is Indian, like sort of like little mini 2-bit drum set. You still have the tabla that was used in here. So how do you decide? Because I mean, some of these instruments are things that like most people haven't even heard of before. How do you? Yeah, that's it. The bouzouki. That's what we're going to use for this movie. How does that come about?
Oh, it's like every creative process. You have an idea, you try, and if you like it, you start using it. I think, I don't know. Each of us we have different ways to design. Fabio has still the original tabla. Somebody actually stole the original bouzouki from us. So it's not there anymore.
I bet it's worth a lot of money though.
And actually it was even very hard to find a bouzouki now, because as you know, we start a tour in a week now in the US. And we had to rent a bouzouki. It wasn't easy to find. But at the end we made it with a Greek the guy that made bouzouki.
So it used a lot of these exotic instruments, but it also is partially a synth score as well, right? It did utilize a Moog synthesizer, I believe. And is that sort of from Claudio Simonetti's background? I understand he was a big fan of synth music and ELO type of prog-rock.
Yeah, so talking about our background as a musician, a keyboard player, include of course synthesizer. That at that time we were still very limited, because we had monophonic synthesizer. I don't know if somebody here is in the music, the process. We were very the first synthesizer available. We used, actually not we, because in the later part of the production we used a modular Moog. So I don't know about Claudio, he's not here, I don't know his background, but we had background of synthesizer.
Does anyone out there have a question that they wanted to ask Goblin tonight? I want to open it up. Mr. in the green shirt.
What was Dario Argento's reaction to the score that you made?
I think he was totally excited about the music. La reazione di Dario quando ha sentito il tema. Totally excited. He liked it. Yes, the reaction was very positive. And that is very communicative. I mean, you can detect immediately if you like something or not. Because if it doesn't, in 2 minutes you're going to figure out. No, I was very happy with the result.
Can you think of an example, Maurizio, something that Argento himself shaped in the soundtrack, changed in the soundtrack? I know we're it's 40 years ago, come on.
Not really. I mean, all director can model the music, but not directly in the way that if they don't like what you do, you change their modeling that way, not modeling directly the music. I mean, modeling. But Dario was totally happy with what we did just since the beginning. Yes, it's easier making the director changing the movie than the movie the director us changing the music. That's maybe.
How did you come up with the raspy whisper voice, and who did it in the score?
The which voice?
Probabilmente la voce Okay, since they were all girls in the college, he had the idea, all the voices are from Massimo, to just to scream in that way. That was inspired by the cast, by the huh?
There are so many passages that are operatic, and I'm wondering, did you have some inspiration, or is this just in Italian DNA that you have this operatic background to draw? Or was there something that you listened to that inspired you?
I mean, you're talking inside the music?
Inside your music, yeah.
We don't even realize, so it has to be part of our background.
Yeah.
Because, no, I think this is important. So if you're Italian and you grow in Italy without realizing, you listen more lyrics than somebody in another country. So it's part of our DNA, opera and things we don't really realize. But
is your music going to be in the remake?
Music can be where?
In the remake of Suspiria.
I don't know. Nella nostra musica andrà a far parte del remake. I don't think there is anything yet decided 100%. It may be anything at this point because we don't have any. Yeah, it's not even clear if it's going to happen. The remake. Actually, we had some requests, but just something that very informal, very first stage. Anyway, they have the right if they don't to use our music, but maybe they don't.
They can make what they want with our music.
Yeah, they can remake it, they can make it different, rearrange it.
Ma io spero di no. I hope no. Because it's very difficult to work about this soundtrack in una maniera differente.
Yeah, in a different way. I think it has a lot of character. If you're going to change it, maybe you're going to ruin it. That's our idea. So Massimo says it's so good that it's impossible to make it.
Well, that's actually a good point. What do you guys think about it? Like, can you remake Suspiria? What do you guys think about that? Remaking this film in particular?
Sorry, say it again.
Can you really remake Suspiria? Like, what are your thoughts on a remake of this film?
I would choose a movie like this to remake. Maybe I would choose a bad movie to try to make it better. I think this is number 4 horror movie in the history. How can you pretend to want to remake it something better? I don't know, but this is my personal opinion. Yeah, Massimo agrees.
And there's no other real, like, there's no other, like, let's get that other Dario Argento to make this, you know what I mean? There's only really one guy that had this particular vision, right? So it's kind of a difficult film to remake. We've seen that before.
In my opinion, remakes should be very exceptions. There shouldn't be something like, I want to remake that because that made success, I want to do the same success even more. I don't know, just do something else. Why they shouldn't do remake?
Tutte le colonne sonore che abbiamo fatto noi hanno la particolarità di, almeno per quanto riguarda me, di non poter essere replicate. Se tu vai a vedere il progetto Fondo Rosso c'ha quella stessa lì, quel brano lì, se vai a vedere Zombie, è difficile rifare una cosa del genere, capito?
Yeah, we
Tenebre con poco.
Yeah. Soundtracks are very characteristic for each movie, our soundtracks. So if you want to do something similar, just copy it, you are going to fall either in doing something very similar.
No, non l'amico. Traducimi il momento, diciamo, particolare della storia degli anni 70, inizi degli anni 80, la musica e il nostro stato d'animo, lo stato d'animo di Dario Argento erano così particolari che hanno creato delle cose uniche che oggi non si potrebbero ripetere, nel senso che quando non cerchi il successo, noi eravamo giovanissimi, quindi non pensavamo al successo, e che le nostre idee folli con le idee folli di Dario Argento sono state un connubio perfetto che non si potrà mai ripetere. Se dovessimo fare oggi una colonna sonora con lui non sarebbe la stessa cosa di 30-40 anni fa. Questo è il mio punto di vista.
How many of you understand Italian? Okay, basically Agostino said that particular 70s, 80s period, the creativity, us working with Dario, everything was so spontaneous. And we made the things so easily without thinking to do a success or nothing. That it came something like a sort of magic that you cannot replicate. Not even us, if we want to do the same thing that we did in the 70s, we will not be able to do it. So that, yeah, it was even the first time that a progressive rock band using certain kind of instrument, doing some kind of music, started working on soundtracks. Before, mostly they were made by orchestra, right? Especially the horror movies. Yeah, we were lucky because being among the first or the first doing these kind of things, and everything worked together.
Okay, is there another question out there?
How do you feel about playing this material live 40 years later?
41 years. Iniziamo a suonare queste cose qui 40 anni dopo. 42. Okay, this person to me is just incredible, doing exactly the same thing we were doing 40 years ago, and listen, see all the audience just crazy and listening and liking, and so it's more than me. I just feel like we are gifted because we love doing this and see people from our age, even older, until 20-year-old that like what we do, we keep doing. So I don't know how do we feel. I feel totally, this is totally amazing. Yeah, we're tired.
Però, Maurizio, digli a lui che noi non siamo noi. No, noi siamo quelli nuovi. Quelli vecchi ormai sono vecchi. Quindi non possono suonare.
Okay, no, I don't know what he said, but I tried. So we are not us, we are not the old ones, but we are the new ones. So the old ones cannot play anymore, but we do, we can.
So
we are the old ones. Yeah, the older. I don't know, anyway, we feel amazing just playing this thing, all touring in the US and all the world. Still playing this stuff and see people that enjoy that. Yeah, US and 2 gigs in Canada. We'll be in Toronto on the 26th and Montreal on the 27th.
Noi praticamente siamo nati dopo aver fatto le colonne sonore.
Yeah, we are born after making the soundtrack.
So we'll talk about the show in a second.
I'm joking, I'm joking.
I got a dumb question for you. If you notice in the credits, you guys are referred to as the Goblins, and so what's up with that?
I don't know. You know that there was Goblins, the first film, right? It's the Goblins.
No.
Yeah. No, Goblins. One movie. There was one movie. The title is Goblins. That was the yeah.
Someone made a mistake. Someone messed up.
Yeah, maybe because we are more than one.
They had one job to do.
know.
And they
The
messed it
literal
up.
translation from Italian. E-Goblin is the goblins for them. Ma c'è, in uno c'era, musica per goblins. They read that it was goblins. At that time, there was no internet, no much communication, so there was one guy taking care of the titles. Sometimes there were a lot of mistakes. No, For sure, if you look at the albums from the 70s, it's real. There were mistakes. You didn't know that to be the guitar player Goblins.
Okay, we got a question right here.
So you followed up this soundtrack with a brilliant score for Dawn of the Dead with Romero. I want to know what it was like to pivot from your native land with Argento to an American film which had different aesthetics, different tone than Suspiria.
Did you get that?
Cambiare da un regista italiano che aveva
Okay, in that particular movie, Goblin did the remake of the soundtrack. So we actually didn't work directly with George Romero for that thing. So it was, yeah, Dario is the one that decided, took care of, produced our version of the movie, of the soundtrack. The original Dawn of the Dead was longer. Is this a different cut, a different music?
I'm just curious to know how your relationship started with Dario.
Okay, I had to ask you because when I joined the band, they were already having a relationship. Come nata il rapporto con te?
Noi dovevamo fare soltanto l'esecuzione dei brani, invece poi siamo piaciuti a Dario che ci ha fatto fare molte.
Yeah, basically that started in Deep Red, that's Profondo Rosso. Initially, I thought them, because I wasn't in the band yet, they were asked just to play music, like session man. Somebody else brought the music for that. And Dario, in the middle of the recording, Dario wasn't happy with something, so he asked them, why don't you guys try to do something on the fly? And that's how Deep Red, most of the teams of Deep Red started. So there was nothing at the beginning. It was something happened randomly because Dario started fighting with his original composer at that time.
Do you know what it was that Argento did not like about his original composer?
I don't know what exactly, because I can Dario about it. Yeah, mostly the murder team, the main team, didn't like, and he continuously asked, when is that team ready? Tomorrow. The team was never ready. So he had this problem with, must say. Yeah, they were not real teams, but they were improvisations. So Dario realized this, so he thought he wasn't, maybe the musician not really serious about what he was writing for the movie. That's why he asked them, why don't you guys try to do something? And actually they came out with something really interesting, like Profondo Rosso di Fred, that's really one of a kind. Yeah, three teams, main teams of the homicide in the movie are by Goblin, and the rest of the original, something was left, but from the original composer, but that's it.
And Deep Red, that's one of Argento's big films as well, and one of my favorite Goblin pieces as well. But I think Suspiria is really, it's the one that everyone talks about. So what are you guys' just thoughts on the film in general in terms of why do you think it has such an enduring legacy? I mean, you mentioned before it's one of the top 4 horror films, and you could argue it is the best horror film ever made. What is it about the film you think that sticks with audiences so much?
If we knew, we would make every movie like very popular. I think this is something that nobody knows, not even I can tell you my opinion, Massimo can tell his opinion. I mean, to me, the genuinity of the things without searching for something particular, but just trying to work with the movie, with the scenes, trying to make the movie better, to drive the emotion of the audience. That's what is making something working together with the movie. I think in Suspiria in particular, there is a tight connection. It's a glue between images and music. You cannot do something different. This is my opinion. Che pensi che perché Suspiria?
Non assomiglia a nessun altro film e poi c'è una... Perché?
In the history of the cinema, that's the most original, the most unique combination, music and images. Yeah, the color of the movie are really important. The yellow, the blue, and things, and they are catching the attention. Yeah, and the sound in general is particular. Is not. Yeah, something has been improvised in the studio, so the music was born with this weird sound that was interesting even for us, because sometimes you start playing, you like what you're doing, right? Without planning that sort of improvisation.
So the soundtrack is the best part of the movie. That's what we're trying to say tonight. Okay, guys, let's take one more question, and we want to talk about the big show that's coming up next week. So we will go with who wants to ask a question.
What were some of the early rock influences on Goblin and on you guys individually?
Early rock before doing soundtracks in general. Okay. As every band, we have different influence individually. Okay, my influence personally in that period was on the progressive rock, jazz rock.
Led Zeppelin, Green, Yes, Big Rocks, Jethro Tull.
The same. Magari more for me, Jimi Hendrix. Hendrix, Jabez, Beatles.
Beatles too.
Okay, guys. So next Thursday, these guys are going to be back in Toronto for, I think, for the first time since what, 2013 was the last time you guys played at the Opera House.
Yes, it was October 2015.
And it was a big. I remember I was there, and you guys played a lot of different selections from your big horror films: Suspiria, Tenebrae, Dawn of the Dead, Sleepless. Can you maybe give us a hint at something new that you might be playing this time? Maybe something from some soundtracks you haven't played before?
Mostly, we will extend each soundtrack, not even with the main themes, but we will do more themes from the same soundtrack, so it will be more complete, the vision of movie by movie. So Suspiria itself will do a couple of themes more live, and the Bread as well. Mostly will be based on, will be sort of medley or suite during the movie to play more songs for that. And the tour will start on the 25th in Chicago and in November 12th in New York. And Toronto will be the second on the tour.
Yeah, that's right. Next Thursday, right? And any chance we might hear something from Contamination? Contamination. That's one of my favorites.
We are rehearsing these days. That's why they are here a week before. If you want a percentage of the new Contamination, it's 95%. Is it okay, 90, no. 100%, yeah.
Okay, so guys, put your hands together one more time for the legendary Italian horror rock god, Goblin. Stand up.
For more information and related links to Goblin, Maurizio Guarini on scoring Dante's Inferno, Video Store Day, and the free streaming of my experimental documentary, please visit KQEK.com. Prior podcasts are available on iTunes, Google Play, Libsyn, and YouTube. This podcast is copyrighted 2017 by Mark R. Hassan.